Welcome to Guitar Technique Episode 4. We're going to be covering funk picking and slap bass technique. And this is going to be a really cool lesson because if you've ever listened to funk or soul numbers or maybe some R&B, maybe you've listened to some jazz fusion players, I bet you've heard this technique. They're going to often use it in those styles, and it generates a really interesting sound where, there's a snap or sometimes called a pop effect from off the guitar string. And this effect is usually done with the middle finger or the ring finger of your picking hand, and the effect is really about the string slamming against the frets once you kind of rip at it and pop at it. We're going to do lots of demonstrations of this as the lesson progresses, and it's very noticeable when you hear it. It jumps right out at you right away when you're listening to a piece that uses it, and it immediately catches your listener's ear. It's really interesting to add into not only styles of music that I just mentioned, but many other styles out there as well. And in fact, we're going to apply this string snap or string pop technique across several licks, including an example that adds this technique into the style of country guitar. So we've got lots of work cut out for us. Let's get things started here in part 1 of the lesson by learning the basics of this technique and how it can be started out with and properly applied from the beginning. All right, in our first example here that we're going to work through, this exercise is looking at just getting you accustomed to this technique overall. It could be something that maybe a lot of you have never done before. You could tell if you were paying a lot of attention to my picking hand, I was focusing on using the pick for some of those lower tones there, but then when I wanted that real snap or pop tone, I was focusing on the notes on the 4th string for those, and I was using my middle finger, just the top of the fingernail there. I don't keep much of a fingernail on my fingers, but maybe not as much as some classical players or fingerstyle players would, but I'm getting under that string quite a bit to get that pop sound out of it. So I'm getting a nice snap out of the string. And the bottom line of it is you've got to get a little bit under that guitar string and kind of rip at it a little bit so it gets popped off the guitar enough that it kind of slams the string down onto the face of the frets, and that gives you that kind of slap, pop sound. So let's go over what's happening with the exercise that I have for you. It's obviously very funky, has a real soul funk, kind of sound to it. And what the focus is, I'm using my pick on the open 5th string, and then I'm using my middle finger on that 4th string. I'm using it on 7th fret at first, and then I'm using it on the 5th fret. And you can tell it's slightly muted too. I'm using a little bit of the heel of my hand, just to, mute a little bit where the strings are rolling over the saddles there. Not much, just a little bit over the saddle, maybe about 1/8 of an inch or so over the saddle area. But you can tell there too, I've got this hammer on that happens on the 5th string from 5th fret to 7th, and then I'm snapping again when I come back in on that 4th string, 5th fret G, and then I'm moving down the neck a little bit there because I'm getting an F, and then an E on the 3rd fret, 4th string into the 2nd fret. Then what I'm doing is moving over to the 5th string, and I'm going to do another snap effect off of the 3rd fret to 5th with a hammer on there. And then I'm catching the low G that's taking place on 3rd string, on the 3rd fret, pardon me, of the 6th string. And that's like a first ending idea to that. Then you're going to go back to the top, start again. Then we're going to head to the second ending, which is kind of like the wrap up of the idea. So I've got, 2 hits on the low open A 5th string, and then I'm coming in here to the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and then the 7th fret of that 3rd string again. You can tell too, I'm putting quite a bit of vibrato on that, so I'm really, getting a lot of, note sound to that singing sound. All All right, so one more time, nice and slow through the exercise. This piece, by the way, that I've got together, it's like an A minor sound. Let me speed that up a little bit for you. And you can take it up, faster if you wanted to, but it's a very interesting sound. What the premise of this, first excursion into all this work is going to be for you is to get that pick used to going and kind of, having a steady pace to it on that open fifth string, and then using the middle finger to snap, to kind of rip at that guitar string and get that pop out of the guitar string like that. So we're going to take a short break at this point here now that we've completed exercise 1. And when we come back in a moment, we're going to look at some chord pops, that we can do with this technique, kind of in that Mark Knopfler style. If you're a fan of Dire Straits and some of those sounds that he has in that music, we're going to be looking at some of those kinds of sounds and how to incorporate them. So we'll take a short break and come back in just a moment. Hi everybody, Andrew Wasson here from CreativeGuitarStudio.com. I've been a professional guitarist for over 25 years now, and I've been teaching guitar for even longer than that. But today I want to talk to you about your current situation by discussing the study of guitar and the time that you have available to put into it. If you're like most people, you're working a 9-to-5 job and you're working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, that's 160 hours a month. How much free time does that leave you left over to study guitar? Let's say you can maybe fit in an hour or so, around 4 or 5 days in a week when you have the free time. And if that is the case, wouldn't you want to make the most of that 1 hour of study, practicing a highly organized, step-by-step, well-structured guitar curriculum? Without a structured plan, it's pretty easy to waste time. A lot of times it happens by just focusing on playing through a bunch of stuff songs riffs you already know, licks that you're familiar with. But practicing stuff you already know will not make you a better guitar player. You need a constant supply of fresh material. If you practice guitar by just playing stuff you already know, before you realize it, time ticks on, time ticks by, and that valuable period of time that you have every day, it gets lost. If left alone, those hours lost every day turn into lost weeks, lost months, and then eventually lost years of wasted time. You'll still be the same guitar player that you were before because you never challenged yourself. I've seen it dozens and dozens of times in my own studio here, but you can change that. In the valuable time that you do have every day, you can start studying a comprehensive guitar course that'll not only educate you, but it'll turn you into a well-skilled musician. So if you want to learn more, sign up for a free account through my website at CreativeGuitarStudio.com. The general access membership is absolutely free to join. Come in, get your feet wet, and when you're ready, you can go for the paid membership. What you'll discover in there is the most comprehensive guitar curriculum available online. All right, in exercise 2, I've got this chord snap idea, the chord pop idea. And what's happening there is I'm using my middle and ring fingers to snap at a couple of strings, and I'm doing it isolated or chopped, in half at first, but then I'm doing it all together too, where the pick and the fingers all execute the pluck at the same time. So you got to learn how to do this idea because it's a big part of this style and this approach. So what we're really doing here with this riff that I've come up with, it's a bit on that Mark Knopfler style. And what's happening is I've got low tones that are happening off the, one low tone, and in particular, is happening on the 5th string, 5th fret. It's the D tone. This is kind of like a D minor riff. And got that note coming in, and then on the upper strings there, 3rd string, we've got some notes that are happening on the D and the C tones, 7th fret and 5th fret there on 3rd string. And then we're moving over to the 7th fret of the 4th string, and that's the only note on 4th string actually. And then we're going to move up and get the 6th fret, an F, and then an E on the second string. So we got 6th fret and 5th fret. And then we're going to do a pull off on 3rd string, a quick D to C, just like that. So that's the first part. Then we get that A on the 7th fret, 4th string. And then the 6th and the 5th frets on the 2nd string. And then the pull off to wrap things up on the 3rd string. Altogether, the first measure, this 2-measure riff goes like this. Again. Okay, one more time, a little faster. Right, so we got this kind of interesting idea where it starts from the bass tone, and then we're ripping out, across with the snapping sounds on the 3rd, 4th, and 2nd strings. Now, in the second half of this riff, what we're doing is we're bringing in a 7th fret, 4th string A tone against these 2 tones here of the F chord, which are going to be a C and an F. And we're playing them separately, and then we're going to move into a C chord, and we're going to pluck all those notes at once. So we'll have all those 5th fret notes. And what happens, is the pick is playing downwards, and then these middle and ring fingers are coming into the palm of your hand all at the same time to generate that snap pop sound of that chord. And then we're going to move up the neck. We're going to do an F chord in much the same way, barring with 3rd finger here at the 10th fret, separating that F chord, and then moving to a C chord, going all at once. So separate with the notes on the 10th frets there, and then all together with the notes from 10, 9, and 8 to generate that C chord there. So we've got, and then, we've separated, those ideas for the C and F chords there. Now, when you put it all together, I'm going to play it nice and slowly here and put it all together for you. Just, really what you want to get is a good snap sound out of those strings. So here we go. Again. It's a really cool effect, and you can break chords apart like that, like you heard me do on the downbeats there of 1 and 3. And, you can also, let them kind of resonate a little bit more and, get a little bit more, of a all-together attack out of them too. So there's some choices there that you can mess around with, and how you apply them is going to be up to you. It's a very cool effect though. And lots of snappy, poppy stuff going on in that first measure as well. So fool around with exercise 2 there, start getting some technique and moving this stuff up a little bit faster in tempo, stuff like that. And actually that brings us now to the end of Lesson 4 Guitar Technique Part 1. And then what we're going to do coming up next for you in part 2 of the lesson plan is in exercise 3, I'm going to switch to an acoustic guitar, and I'm going to do some slap bass. The reason why I'm not going to do it on my electric is because with the string coming down with the thumb attacking, it's going to really bring that string, into the pickups, and it's going to sound kind of really not so great. We're going to do it on acoustic instead. It's going to be really cool. I'm going to use the side of my thumb to approach that technique and do that kind of slap bass effect on guitar. It's kind of difficult to do on guitar because we don't have the thick strings and all that resistance there, but we'll break it down on acoustic. It's going to sound really cool. So that's going to be exercise 3. And then in exercise 4, I'm going to switch back to my electric here, and we're going to run through a country guitar string popping concept as well, because this sound is, can be very easily, moved over into the world of country guitar for sure. Now, that second half of the lesson is going to be available in the members area over at creativeguitarstudio.com. If you don't have a membership to the website yet, definitely take one out. If you have a membership, even a free one, you're going to be able to access 30 free lessons in the Quick Licks series, and you can run through all those exercises. There's handouts for that and everything. And then when you feel ready, you can take out a paid membership. I've got basic monthly membership plans. I've got annual, plans where you have full access to absolutely everything on the site. That's a very popular plan because a lot of people do join my site to be able to go in and study the guitar programs. So that's, like my introductory course, the intermediate course, and the advanced guitar programs. There's some really good learning take place in there if you want to get a really good step-by-step methodology, real curriculum for studying guitar. That's what I've, really put together over all the years in the members area. So go check it out. At least get the free membership and check out what's happening on the site overall. It's at creativeguitarstudio.com. I look forward to seeing you there. Smooth Jazz Chords introduces chord types that offer a very different sound from the chords that are used in almost every other style of music. The Smooth Jazz Chords video lesson is a two-part course that demonstrates chord types that are used in the smooth jazz style. These chords are often referred to as triad over bass note chords, and the lesson demonstrates these chord shapes as well as their use using both diagrams and example progressions. Smooth Jazz Chords is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at CreativeGuitarStudio.com. Thanks for watching part 1 of the lesson. Be sure to sign up as a member at CreativeGuitarStudio.com to watch part 2. In part 2, we'll study the slap bass approach, and we'll also explore this technique as it's applied to the country style. Plus, as a member, you'll also be able to download the handout for this lesson along with many more professional guitar lessons. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up next in the members area.